Butch Browning is the fire marshal for the entire state of Louisiana. No small job there.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Butch, welcome back to Keel. How you been?
Good morning. How y'all doing?
The governor talked yesterday about his new order and this patio dining and these outdoor churches, and said this will be enforced by the state fire marshal.
Congratulations, by the way, on that.
Which is you. So give us some guidelines about what is allowed today at restaurants and how you plan to enforce it if you are enforcing it.
Right. So, I'm very excited that we can actually sit down and start helping people feel a little bit more normal. And, of course, the science has driven all of this. And what we've been working with is with the Department of Health to determine exactly what keeps people safe and how we can lay the fire code and capacities in doing that. And the governor's been pushing us to lean forward to make sure we do this right. And we spent over a week trying to get the numbers right. So I can tell you where we are now. As it relates to restaurants, the outdoor environment is a lot safer. So what we've done is we've basically told restaurants, if you have an outdoor seating area, you have to limit that capacity. You have to create this distancing, which is about 10 foot from tabletop to tabletop. So once you put chairs around the table and people sit, we got a 6 foot spacing. No more groups of 10 people seating together. And then it's balanced with a tremendous amount of sanitizing requirements. Workers in these restaurants will wear masks. They'll wear gloves when they're serving food. There is no table service. So you'd have to go into the counter like you would go now or before to do a takeout, a pickup order. You'd have to go to the counter, pick up your order, take it to your table and eat. And in between people eating, the restaurant operators will do the sanitation. So we think it's a very good program if it's followed strictly. I think we maintain the social distancing that's still being required, still the federal government's expecting us to do, coming out the White House with the spacing and the limited concentration of people. So that stuff starts today. I have received a tremendous amount of phone calls and questions personally, as well as the office, from restaurant owners. They're very excited. We're approaching this from a cooperative standpoint. We're not going out there but doing anything but trying to encourage participation of the standard and working with people. And I really don't foresee any problems because the people who want to do this want to do it right. Nobody wants to put their customers in.
The 10 people at a table, do they have to be related, like he said about the churches, that you can sit next to each other at an outdoor church service if you're from the same household? At a restaurant, can 10 people sit together that maybe are not related? Maybe it's a group of friends?
Yeah, that is correct. They don't have to be related. The reason the household relationship comes in on the churches is because obviously there's families of 12 or 14 that might go to church together. But the 10-person gathering is consistent with the federal guidelines currently in this position we're in. So the 10 people at the table don't have to necessarily be related. They could be friends, but outside of that, then you have to have the spacing. But, I want to remind you, too, and the governor's been very consistent about this as well, outside of the requiring of employees in these businesses to wear the mask, we're encouraging, patrons to wear a mask. I personally, when I go out in public, I wear a mask. Now, obviously, you've got to lower it. You got to remove it to eat or drink. But that coupled with hand washing and sanitizing, we really have to amp that up. That's very, very important as people move about for necessary things in the public.
Mr. Butch, I'm looking here, and I don't know if this was directly from your office or if the always articulate Ms. McCarty wrote this, but it says that restaurants are allowed to create temporary outside structures. Is there a specific definition of that, or can a restaurant just sort of commandeer its own upfront parking places and set tables out there?
Well, you are correct. In our order, we tried to be visionary and we tried to create opportunities to be entrepreneurs of this. So we allow them to take over spaces like a parking lot and either build a barrier where it's outdoor. Maybe you have the same separation tables with umbrellas on it. Maybe you construct a tent. Now, that tent can't have sides on it. It's got to be open air. So we have allowed that. Of course, we ask those restaurants to make sure they're not violating any local zoning ordinances or rules in that perspective, because now we're talking about creating something that wasn't already permitted. Again, most of the mayors and parish presidents I've talked to were excited about that allowance. So they can, without any obstruction from local laws, they can actually put up a tent, open tent. They can actually barricade off a parking lot area and put some umbrellas up and tables. They're following the same spacing. But you know, the key remedy in this is that it's open air. I think that's what keeps it safe with the spacing.
Mr. Butch, how are you going to enforce this? You're going to have little spies all over? You're going to have, are you recruiting deputies? Because Erin's looking for something to do this weekend. What's the plan there?
Yeah, I'll help you out.
Yeah, she wants
well,
a badge.
Erin has always been a good promoter of mine, so I trust her with a badge. But she probably does y'all better on the radio.
Ooh, Erin with a badge is scary.
Yeah, let me just tell you, we've put a lot of guidance out. I mean, the attitude and the demeanor of the state fire marshal's office. We work with people. We find ways to get in compliance, and that's how we're going to do this. I mean, I do not envision our people at all having to write many misdemeanor summonses or having to cease and desist very many businesses. Hopefully, we don't have to do any, because I think that once we go out and we explain, you got to realize these people that run these restaurants, these customers are like their family. They want them back. So they don't want them to come back in an unsafe manner, or they don't want them to come back and put them in harm's way. So that they're really appreciating the guidance. So, and I think the governor said it well yesterday. The people who don't comply probably don't know they're not complying. Once we go out and work with them and consult with them, that's what we're going to do. So, we're not going to be putting surveillance cameras up. We're not going to be flying drones over anywhere. We're going to just be out there. We'll be transparent. If we get complaints, we will very subtly contact those businesses and make sure they understand, what the rules are and work with them. I mean, that's
so you're going to give a warning first if somebody, hey, could you guys?
No, absolutely. Absolutely, we're gonna go out and verbally deal with people, and if people just totally obstruct and don't want to follow the order, and we feel like people are in harm's way, well, then obviously we've got to do some other things. But I've been doing this 35 years, been fire marshal for going on 13 years, and we've got a lot of great things in commerce with bringing sugar to the table and not salt, and that's what we're gonna do.
Okay, we want Jesus back in our lives. Churches can now open up outdoor services. What are the requirements with regard to churches for this Sunday, correct?
Yeah, so we finalized the guidance last night. We started communicating it. It'll be blasted out before lunch today. So basically, kind of the same vein of what we've done with the restaurants. A little bit better, a little bit different spacing. We're still maintaining the 6-foot spacing, but basically outdoor events, outdoor open tents. You put your families, your household groups together in groups. You maintain 6-foot social distancing around where they sit. So if it's a couple or if it's 7 people, you can kind of see how the template works where they sit. We've asked the pastors and the clergy folks to consider modifying things that require personal contact during the ceremony. The key thing is your ushers will fill a role that the fire code addresses called crowd managers, and they will actually be the people who will direct people to sit, show them where to sit, and move people around to where they're not stacked up on each other. They maintain the 6 foot. We've asked that those crowd managers, those ushers, if you will, would wear masks and wear gloves appropriately, because they may be handling chairs, they may be handling different items to make this church service work appropriately. And then, of course, the people who come to the church, they'll be asked to wear masks. They won't be required, similar to the governor's order. But your minister, your pastor, your priest will be able to freely, minister without a mask or anything like that.